keep that going. Apparently I have quite a few minutes up here, so I won't be taking all of that time, so I won't bore you. I will speak to my written speech that was prepared by Giselle. First time I've ever done that, but she did such an extensive, wonderful job of that speech that I had to read it. Protocols. I don't do very well at protocols. This is the only suit I own, otherwise I'd be just like you. So let's start off doing it my way. Ambassador Gustavo, my friend, welcome. William Trim, welcome. Lisa, Andrea, and the whole BirdsCaribbean team, welcome. Cornell, my good friend, who has worked hand in hand with us over the last few years, welcome and thank you. And the whole TTL, Trinidad and Tobago tourism team, together with the ministry, welcome and thank you again. Many of these things we've been doing together, and we've been seeing each other over and over, and it's wonderful. We may not get it right. We believe in one thing. I always say, do not let perfect get in the way of good. We are trying, we're working together. I promise you tomorrow, failure, but we also promise we'll get back up and we'll get going again. Correct? Good. So I want to begin very simply. I am not a conservation scientist, and many of you in this room have spent your lives studying birds, protecting habitats, working with communities, restoring ecosystems, and asking difficult questions about the future of biodiversity in the Caribbean. And I respect that very deeply, but I'm here from a whole other world. I'm here as a businessman, and as someone who spent much of his life trying to build companies that serve a need and create employment, earn trust, and last beyond the first idea. After more than 3 decades of building, I believe business has arrived at a very different question. Not only what can we build, but what needs to be stronger because we were here. And that question is at the center of HADCO experiences. And it is why I believe this conference matters. HADCO began in 1992 with 3 brothers, Robert, Joseph, the 2 brothers, and myself. At that time, I was working as an engineer. Robert did his studies and works in accounting, and Joseph likewise in management. We were very young, we were in our 20s. People always ask that wonderful question, tell me about your dreams and how you started business and all of the plans that you had. And they really ain't that deep. Sometimes you just start business because you need to. And in our case, we weren't starting with a grand theory of business with plans. We were just responding to life. Our father had passed very young, quite a few years before, and there were family responsibilities. There was work to be done, and there was no room for romance or sexiness in it. Before HADCO, our mother had been involved in catering, so food service and supplying people who were already part of the family's experience. Distribution became a natural first step. We were trying to build something useful, and this turned eventually, 34 years on, into a conglomerate, a mini conglomerate. That distinction matters because the best businesses, I think, often begin there. Not with a question of how big can this become, but with a more practical question. What is needed? And can we build it well? And that question shaped HADCO. Distribution came first in electrical and lighting, food and beverage, then came manufacturing, then came recycling, and finally regenerative tourism. Different sectors, yes, but not random moves. Each step asks some version of the very same question. Where is there a need? Where can we bring discipline? Where can we build capability? Where can we earn foreign exchange? Where can we create value in Trinidad and Tobago rather than simply consume it? And that is the HADCO story. It's not a straight line, more like the road to Maracas. It's not a perfect line, it's a working line. A line built through pressure, risk, family trust, persistence, and a willingness to learn in public. My brothers and I brought different training to the same table, engineering, accounting, and management. Different ways of seeing a problem that was useful. Because business is not one skill. It is a system of skills held together by trust. And if there's one thing we learned early, is that you cannot build anything lasting without trust. Over time, HADCO became known for products and brands and services and operations. You saw it in the video. We just showed you a bit. Not that we wanted you to buy the product, but if you felt like buying it, you could. We became known for our products, etc. But looking back, I see something more important. HADCO was always learning how to build systems, a distribution system, a manufacturing system, a service system, a hospitality system. But now, through HADCO experiences, we are actually learning how to work inside a living system. And that is much more of a serious responsibility. Because things can be repaired, a warehouse can be repaired, a truck can be replaced, a machine can be repaired, a brand can be repositioned. But a forest once broken does not come back on a quarterly schedule. A community's trust, once lost, is not restored by a marketing campaign. A species found nowhere else on earth cannot be replaced by another product line. And this is the turning point. For decades, HADCO built value through things we could manage: products, systems, brands, logistics, people, service, infrastructure. But now, through HADCO experiences, we are learning to create value with things. No company can truly own forest, biodiversity, culture, heritage, community trust, and a sense of place. That is not a soft idea. It is a more demanding form of business. It asks more of us. It asks us to think beyond ownership. Ownership asks what belongs to us. Stewardship asks what are we responsible for? And that question did not arrive suddenly. Long before we had a company called HADCO Experiences, there was an ethic in our family that pointed in this direction. My nephew Matthew, and I'm sure my son Andrew, and the other nephews and niece in my family would say the same. Matthew described it in a way that stays with me. As children, their weekends were not always spent in malls and resorts. They were actually spent in the Northern Range, in Brasso Seco, Madamas, Mayaro, rivers, beaches, rural communities. Open fires, long drives, long drives, long drives. Simple meals and long days outdoors. And there was one rule that did not need a speech or a teaching. If you enter the place, leave it better than you found it. Sometimes that meant carrying garbage out of the forest after a hike. At the time, nobody called it sustainability. It was just what you did. You respected the place, and you respected the people. You paid it forward where you could. You did not need applause for doing what was right. And that is why I'm sure regenerative tourism is something HADCO is committed to. Committed to building a business model around. And that is the meaning of HADCO experiences. It is not HADCO entering tourism. It is HADCO expanding what it means to build. And this matters because tourism in the world and the Caribbean is changing. For too long, the region has been described in narrow language. Sun, sea, sand, a bit of music and party. We know it all, right? And those things are beautiful. They are a part of us. They are a part of us. But they are not enough to describe us. They do not describe a bellbird calling from the forest. They do not describe an oil bird returning to a cave, nor a prehistoric leatherback turtle coming ashore at Grand Riviera. They do not describe the Pawi moving through the canopy with that fluttering of the wing that you hear at times. They do not describe our cocoa, coffee, rivers, villages, guides, kitchens, field stations, forest trails, or the people whose knowledge give a place its meaning. The Caribbean's deepest value is not always manufactured. Sometimes it's inherited. But the inherited value still has to be protected. It has to be managed. And it has to be renewed. So that's why HADCO Experiences exists. It exists because we believe Trinidad and Tobago has living assets that deserve serious business discipline, serious conservation, respect, and serious long-term investment. At Azurite Nature Center, that asset is forest legacy. It is one of the great names in Caribbean naturescapes. It carries decades of birding, research, education, interpretation, and memory. To operate there is to enter a story that began way long before us. Our responsibility is to strengthen what made it matter in the first place. At Mount Plaisir, the asset is a coastal community bound to one of nature's most extraordinary cycles. Grand Riviera is not only a beach, it's a village, a river meeting the sea. It's local employment, it's food, it's in memory. It is leatherbacks returning in the dark with a rhythm older than any other business place. Older than any other business plan. Hospitality there has to understand humility. The turtles are not an attraction we created. They are a responsibility we inherited. And at Pawi Lodge, the asset is irreplaceability. The Trinidad piping guan is found nowhere else on earth. That single fact changes the way you think. A business near that bird cannot behave like any other business. It must ask what it means to build around rarity, around fragility, and around national responsibility, around something that has value precisely because it cannot be copied. These three places are very different, but together they have taught us the same lesson. A destination is not the building, it is the whole living system around it. It's the guide, the forest, the village, the species, the food, the visitor, researcher, the story, the trust, the work. If one part weakens, the whole experience weakens. And this is where the business logic becomes very clear. A healthy place creates a meaningful experience, and a meaningful experience supports a stronger business. And a stronger business creates local opportunity. Local opportunity builds pride, and the pride supports the protection. Science and conservation partnerships guide the work. and investment returns to the place. The loop must close. The loop must close. If it does not close, tourism extracts. If it closes, tourism can help regenerate. That is the work. And we should be honest about it. Tourism is not automatically good for nature. It can damage habitats, it can disturb wildlife, and it can overwhelm communities. It can package culture until it becomes performance. That is why tourism must earn its place in fragile landscapes. It must be designed. It must be limited where necessary. It must be measured and accountable. And it must listen to science. Thank you for that break. It's kind of hoping you clapped before, but you didn't do a good job. And it must listen to science. It must respect community. It must put money back into what made the experience possible. And this is where HADCO experience is beginning to influence the wider HADCO company. I do not say that as a finished claim. I say it as a real shift in the questions that we are asking in our company. What is growth if the place declines? If the community weakens? Tourism, if the species disappears? What is success if nothing is stronger after we leave it? Those questions are not only tourism questions. They are business, legacy, and national questions. National questions. And they are questions every Caribbean company will have to face in one form or the other. Because the future of business in the Caribbean cannot be separated from the future of the Caribbean itself. Our islands are not large enough for that illusion. Cause and effect live close together here. If a river is damaged, people will know. If a forest is cut, people feel it. If a turtle disappears, a village will remember it. And if a bird goes silent, something in the landscape has already changed. That closeness is a vulnerability, but it's also an advantage. It means that we can see and feel the system. We can see that birds, people, and prosperity are not separate subjects. They are one living economy. And that is why the theme of this conference is so powerful: birds, people, and prosperity. A scientist may enter the theme through data, a guide through a trail, a student through curiosity, a minister through policy, and business through investment. The theme is asking all of us to meet in the same place. Birds need habitats, habitats need communities that have a reason to protect them, and communities need livelihoods. Livelihoods need businesses that are willing to think beyond extraction, and businesses need healthy places. Healthy places that need science, discipline, and care. And this is not a theory. This is the Caribbean's opportunity. For decades, people have asked what the Caribbean can sell. For decades we've been asking that. What can the Caribbean sell? Maybe the better question is, what can the Caribbean protect so well that the world will understand its value? would want the message. Our endemic species, rainforests, reefs, turtles, bird life, cocoa, food, villages, music, our people, memory, sense of place. These are not extras that is added to an itinerary. That's our competitive advantage. No one can manufacture another Trinidad piping one, or build another Grand Riviere, or copy Asa Wright's Nature Center's history. No one can import the feeling of a real Caribbean community that knows its landscape and takes pride in it. That is why conservation is not outside the economy. In the Caribbean, conservation is one of the foundations of the economy, and we still have the chance to build. And business must take that seriously. Business is not the hero of conservation. Communities are not scenery. Scientists are not decoration. Nature is not a backdrop, and the work has to be shared. And the government has a role, and science has a role. Community education, capital business, all play an important role. HADCO Experiences is just one attempt, one little attempt to take that role seriously. And we are learning, we are making mistakes. And again, I promise you, we'll continue to make those mistakes. But we have to improve. But the direction matters. Because HADCO did not begin with a grand plan. It began with a responsibility to survive, to provide, and to build something useful from what we did. At first, the answer was a business, distribution, manufacturing, services, recycling, then regenerative tourism, and through HADCO experiences, this answer is different. Build places that become stronger because we are there. Build a business that gives conservation more allies. And build visitor experiences that deepen respect rather than consume attention. Build opportunities for communities that know these landscapes better than anyone else. And build a model where a bird, a turtle, a forest, a village, and a company can hold value together. That is the next thing to build. And this is the evolution of value. And I do believe that the Caribbean can build that. Because we still have much of what the world is trying to recover. We do have a lot of what the rest of the world is trying to regain. Living landscapes, cultures, knowledge, and abounding beauty. The future of business will not be measured only by what it owns. It will be measured by what it strengthens. That's the end of my rhetoric. In that spirit, I welcome you to Trinidad and Tobago.